What is going on, everybody? T Freaky back here on some MLB The Show 18, and today, as you tell by the title, I'm going to show you the best team, in my personal opinion, the best team in MLB The Show 18 with not a single diamond. And now, obviously, when you see this, you're going to say, "Oh, you got diamonds." I give suggestions. These are cards I pulled. I didn't buy these. I pulled them from buying like 1,000 coin packs. I got very lucky, so I wouldn't expect to do that either, so it was very lucky. I don't know the odds of it. I don't even think Carlos Carrasco is very good, but I'm going to show you the best team without any diamonds in it, and I'm also going to give you even options that are even cheaper than what I'm using. So starting off for pitchers, I have Justin Verlander, Zach Greinke, David Price, Chris Archer, and Rich Hill are the pitchers that I would say are the best without using any diamonds. Pitchers you can mix and match a lot, though. Pitchers are a lot different than field position players. But those are the five I chose. I'm going to go into the store later and look at them. For my bullpen, I picked Josh Hader, Brad Hand, Wade Davis, Chad Green, Carl Edwards Jr., Dellin Betances, and Ken Giles. I will go into the store and show you guys everybody, and that's when I'll show you the other viable options. Rotation, or my lineup, I have George Springer, Paul DeJong, Gary Sanchez, Nelson Cruz, Cody Bellinger, Anthony Rendon, Brian Dozier, and JD Martinez. And then on the bench, I have Brett Gardner, Eric Hosmer, Ryan Schimpf, Joey Gallo, and Miguel Sano. With that being said, we will go ahead and take a look at everybody in the store, and the reason I'm going to give you guys other viable options at each position too is because like some of these people, like Gary Sanchez, that's who I have. As you can see, Gary Sanchez is you could probably get him for about $15,000, and if you look at his power stats, he's a god. He's a better power hitter. He's the best power hitting catcher in the game, hands down. He's better than Buster Posey. 93 and 98 power. That's plenty of power to get it out the park. I've been using him. I think he's great. I used JT Real Muto at the beginning because I got him for free when I logged into the game. I do not recommend. Was not a big fan. But for me, for a catcher, I would recommend as if you can't afford Gary Sanchez, or if you're looking for a cheaper option, I would say even though he has 0 speed and 2 stealing, I would say this Brian McCann is a very viable option because I've used him in the lefty versus lefty, the Southpaw event, and he can rake. And the other thing I'd like to mention, in each of these people that I am recommending today, everyone in this lineup can hit home runs, which is what you need. Contact is not the important thing in MLB The Show 18. It is the ability to put the ball out of the ballpark. Brian McCann can do that, and I would say Gary Sanchez is the best catcher in the game, if you ask me personally. And then I would definitely vie for Brian McCann. He can put the ball out the park even though his speed is bad. Moving on, go to first base. If you remember from before, I had Cody Bellinger. He, as you can see, 88 power, 86. 88 power righty, 86 power versus lefty. If you get the PCI anywhere near the ball, this Cody Bellinger can rake. Absolutely rake. You just need to give it a chance and get under the ball. On my bench, I have Eric Hosmer. He is definitely a more affordable option. But I didn't want to recommend Hosmer because he doesn't exactly have the greatest power. If I had to choose as a more affordable backup to Cody Bellinger, which is someone who I have on my bench, I would definitely choose Joey Gallo, who you can probably get for about 1,400-ish. 102 power versus a righty. He is a monster. An absolute monster. In the Southpaw Challenge, I have been raking with Joey Gallo. He absolutely rakes. And as you can see, his contact is small. His contact versus righty and lefty are both poor, but that just makes the PCI smaller. If you're able to locate where you put your PCI very well, as I can do sometimes, you can rake with anybody in the game. Contact is very minor when you look at this game. It's all about the power. because as long as you have good PCI skills, you can put anything out the park. Next, we'll be looking at second base. Before, as you can see, I had Brian Dozier. You can get him for about $8,000. He can, even when this dude pops out, he hits absolute moonshots with his power he has, and he has good contact. But compared, I enjoy playing with him. He's a good player. He's sound defensively. But even with that, I would say if you aren't even looking to spend that, don't worry about any of these guys in here, because there's a man. He's one of my backups. Oops. Ryan Schimpf right here. You can get him for roughly around 150, 200. Look at the power, man. His fielding is suspect, but he does play second base, so it's not too big of a deal. But look at that power. The PCI is small with his contact, but if you just get the PCI where it needs to be, the ball is out of the park, man. He's in this, as you can see, he's available for the Southpaw event. I'm hitting opposite field homers with him at Fenway. It's just, if you get the PCI on it, this dude absolutely rakes. He's on my, as I showed you before, he's on my bench, along with Joey Gallo, and my lord, does he rake. I couldn't find a way to not put him on the team with how much he rakes. Looking at third base, as you can see by my money, I was considering getting this Josh Donaldson earlier, but diamonds are not worth it, man. Diamonds are not worth it when you come down to Anthony Rendon here. 3,000 coins, and he has 61 power versus righty and 75 power versus a lefty. Not the greatest, but he's a cheaper option than Mike Moustakas, and he is very, very similar. His power versus righty is about, it's quite a bit lower, but for similar stats, I would definitely want Rendon. I did hit a bomb with him the last game I played. He can rake. He can dick slap some dingers for all you need to know. As far as viable options, I would say Kyle Seager is pretty good. But there is a person that, let's see if I can find him here. He is also on my bench. Let's see. It is Miguel Sano. Here he is. He's on the first page down here. You can get him for roughly 600 coins. Look at the power, man. He's got better power than Anthony Rendon, who is the more expensive one that I use. He has better power, which is phenomenal. His feeling is, he has his arm is roughly the same. Or his arm is better than Rendon. Their feeling is, roughly evened out when you even out the arm. But he, very, very viable option for 3,000 coins less than Anthony Rendon. Definitely would recommend Miguel. Let's move over to shortstop here. Now, earlier in the year, I considered getting Carlos Correa. Because you see his stats, he looks pretty good. But for shortstop, there's only one man. There's one man I use in the game, and there's one man I recommend as a cheaper viable option because he is by far the best. Right here, Paul DeJong, for the price. He has 77 contact on both. Carlos Correa, he is 2 points shy on one and 3 points shy on the other, and this is a diamond Carlos Correa. His power is 76 righty, 82 lefty. His power is better in both than this diamond Carlos Correa. Now, you do have to sacrifice some fielding attributes, as you can see, reaction 63, arm 64, fielding 68, and Carlos Correa's are all in the 70. But if the sheer power and offensive ability this card has, Carlos Correa, as you can see, is a gold hitting. I'm pretty sure Paul DeJong is diamond. Oh, he's gold. Sorry, let me correct myself. He is gold. But is he faster too? 63 speed? And the same speed. There you go. So all you do is you get a better hitting shortstop, and all you do is sacrifice a little bit of fielding with Paul DeJong. Carlos Correa is just a better fielder. This is the only shortstop I recommend. I don't really look around for any. I did look around. This is the only shortstop I still recommend. Best shortstop in the game, 100%. Now we will move on to left field. I use JD Martinez. You can get him for roughly about 7,000. As you can see, the power. Oof. I mean, other than Giancarlo Stanton, best power hitting left fielder in the game. His fielding's decent. He's got a decent. Well, I shouldn't say his fielding's decent. He has poor fielding, but his arm is decent, which can make up for a possible error getting the ball in quicker. But if I had to recommend a cheaper, more viable option, not more viable, but a cheaper, viable option, I would recommend Justin Upton. As you can see, 88 power, 74 power, 88 power lefty, 74 power righty. Very viable option, and his fielding is a lot better than JD Martinez. His arm is, it's a little bit less, but you also pick up some fielding. He's a better option out in the field, but you just can't match JD Martinez's power. He hits moonshots. He definitely dick slaps some dingers. So in left field, I would recommend, if you don't want to pay the money for JD Martinez, go ahead and get you a Justin Upton. He's very good out in left field. I'm not sure which position he plays. I didn't mention him in this list, but Kyle Schwarber is also a pretty decent outfielder too, if you want to look for him. I know his power versus lefties is 90, and he might be in the 60s for righties, which isn't horrible. So if you're looking for another outfielder, I could recommend you that. We're going to move on to center field here. And I rock George Springer. Leads off in my lineup. He's got 72 speed. Everyone, like I said, can hit home runs on this team, as long as you know how to mark up your PCI for around, we'll say around 7,000. You could probably get yourself a George Springer. He's played amazing for me so far. There's nothing to say really. I mean, these players play amazing. They can rake. If I had to recommend a cheaper viable version for center field, or right field, for center field. If I had to recommend a viable option, I would recommend this very, very cheap Ian Happ. This Cubs player, he has 82 power on righties, 67 power on lefties, which don't face too many lefty situations, but he has very good fielding out in the field. If we compare his fielding to George Springer, it's not quite as good, but it's still pretty good, and his speed is not horrible. He's a pretty good option for you for about 100 coins. You can pick up an Ian Happ, and you have a very valuable center fielder. He's also a switch hitter, which is pretty nice. And now we'll move to the final position on the field, right field. I rock this Nelson Cruz. You can get him for about 6,500, we'll say. And he can rake. I think I have him in my 4 spot or 3 spot. Absolutely dick slaps the ball. I cannot describe how hard he hits the ball. He's probably the hardest hitting player on my team. He absolutely rakes. Him and Gary Sanchez in the 3-4 spot absolutely rake, and his arm out in right field is very, very good with a 90 arm out there. If I was to recommend to you a right fielder who would be a viable option for Nelson Cruz, where is he here? I think he's third page right here. Less than 100 coins. Mark Trumbo. Contact is decent. Fielding, not the greatest. But as you can see by the power, he can rake and he'll put points on the board for you, which is what you need to win. You need to put points on the board, and then you need your pitching to get the job done. Speaking of pitching, I skipped over him, but here I chose as my first pitcher for around 6,000. He is kind of expensive, I guess, for what I'm doing. But for around 6,000, you can get Justin Verlander, which is a very, very solid card. Around 2,500 is Zach Greinke. Around just under 3,000, Rich Hill, and then Chris Archer's a little bit more expensive than. He's less than Verlander, but he's a little bit more expensive. Chris Archer is about 4,500. And then the final pitcher I would recommend, David Price. These are all very good pitchers. They will hold down for you on the hill. I just pitched a complete game with Zach Greinke. It was a great game. We scored like 8 runs, I think. We gave up 1. Great game. Would recommend 100% all these pitchers. And Also, for the pitching really is up to the person. I'm going to go through especially when you get to the bullpen, I'm going to go to let me take a drink for a second. The pitching really is up to the person, as I was saying. It's all about who you like. Yu Darvish is also a viable option. Jake Arrieta is more expensive, but he's a viable option. Alex Wood is very good. I think Robbie Ray is good. Dallas Keuchel is decent. There is a lot of people you could use. It is all really up to the person. I know Luis Severino is also a good option. It is up to the person when it comes to pitching, I would say, especially when you get into the bullpen, which is what we're going to look at now. For relief pitchers, I have Dellin Betances. He's very good. He can bring some gas for you. You know, he is the most expensive I have on this list for relief pitchers. He is the most expensive relief pitcher I have on here. I have Chad Green. I have, who else do I have? Josh Hader. Josh Hader's not very much. He's a very, very affordable bullpen pitcher. All of these are, except for Betances and who I am going to get to next, which is Brad Hand. He is also more of an expensive one, but I use Ken Giles. And then finally, Wade Davis is who I round out my bullpen with. Out of my 7 bullpen people, I would say 5 of them are very, very affordable. But then again, like I said earlier, bullpen is all up to you on what you want. Corey Knebel is also a viable option. He is a lot cheaper. Bullpen is all up to you. Just look at the stats, see K per 9, look at their per 9s, look at their velocity. It's really up to you. See who you like. And that's like what I have to recommend for you guys. This whole thing, like, look at who I recommend and then take that into account and see who you might like to get. There's plenty of, I'm sure we would all love to be having Paul Goldschmidt, Mike Trout. We'd all love to have them, but, it doesn't exactly work like that, so. I appreciate you guys stopping by the video. If you guys enjoyed it, please show some support. I would love to, get the Mike Trouts. I would love to get everyone in the game and, do test games and report back to you guys what I think about them. Post the game so you guys can see how the players perform. I'd love to do that. So if you guys would like to see that, go ahead. If you're new, hit the subscribe button. And if you enjoyed the video, please go ahead and hit the like button. It'd be much appreciated. If I could start getting some support behind my videos, I'd love to bring some God Squad videos and review all the best players like Mike Trouts, the Giancarlo Stantons, the Aaron Judges, Goldschmidts, the best pitchers in the game. I'd love to go through and try and do all that. So if you guys would like to see that, go ahead and hit the like button, hit the subscribe button if you're new. And until the next video,